Hi, everyone. Before we dive into today's episode, I'd like to remind you to please leave a rating and review for this show. We live in a noisy world, and there are millions of podcasts out there competing for our attention. My attempt is to bring inspiration, good news, and hope to those that are living in a state of burnout. By leaving a positive rating and review, it helps others to easily find this show when searching for relevant content. Secondly, this podcast is brought to you by ownyour5to9.com. We have a shop on our website that's full of resources to help families organize. We also have some cool merchandise. We are ramping up for the new year, and I imagine you are too. As you make your plans, consider visiting ownyour5to9.com for your organizational tools. We continue to add to our toolbox, so check us out. We'll be right back with today's featured Burning Ladder story. You are listening to the Work Life Eubiosis podcast with your host, Charleston Edwards. If this is your first time here, welcome. My goal is simple: to eradicate burnout and to bring harmony, purpose, and balance to this world, starting with the family. My hope is that this show and the story shared will provide encouragement and ideas that will be valuable to you on your journey to work-life freedom. So let's dive into today's episode. Have you ever said, "What's wrong with me?" Are you knocking out all of your career aspirations, but you're absolutely miserable? Join the club. Success does not promise happiness nor fulfillment. Today, I'm happy to feature Karen Collins, who went on a quest to answer the question, "What's wrong with me?" In her quest, she found her true identity and removed all the facades of what the world had put on her. In a weird twist, she discovered her purpose was to help others who were also saying, "What's wrong with me?" However, this is not bizarre by any means. The tests, trials, and painful events that we go through in life are often blessings in disguise. Trials get our attention. Trials change our priorities. Trials widen our perspective. Frequently, we can look back at our lives, good and bad, and connect the dots to see a divine design, the interconnectivity, and the purpose of where we have landed at today. With that, today can now be day one, not one day. Today you will hear Karen Collins' Burning Ladder story. And if you're new to this platform, Burning Ladders represents those that have chosen to stop climbing the corporate ladder to pursue a life of purpose, life, and freedom, most frequently to save their families and their health. Karen is the author of the book called Day One. This book helps you take the first step to living your life on purpose. In Karen's story, she provides valuable insight into how she found her authentic purpose and fulfillment without achieving one thing. Because of this, achievement is now just a byproduct to the many rooms that she walks into. Karen is most proud of the titles mom, wife, sister, and daughter. She lives from her values of wonderment, empowerment, connection, joy, prosperity, and engagement, which is an evolution of the value of presence that inspired so much of her work. Karen is the founder and the CEO of Empower Lead, where she offers one-on-one coaching, organizational coaching, and keynotes to help people show up as their whole selves, no matter where they are at or who they are with. So let's dive into Karen's letter. Dear listener, I have lived the quintessential corporate ladder story. Fresh out of college, I began in cold calling sales at a nonprofit technology firm. I wanted to make a difference while also making a living. And the intersection of technology and nonprofits seemed like the perfect fit. I shattered commission records in that entry-level job, and the company couldn't pay me what I'd earned because it surpassed the budget set aside for the whole team. So I asked my boss to help me find a role where I could be fairly compensated. That launched me into project management, where I became known as the person who gets stuff done. My reward for my expertise? Every botched, angry client became mine to fix. I was working 75-hour weeks with no end in sight. The breaking point came when I was locked in my boss's office as he tried to convince me to say yes to a project my moral compass screamed against. Burned out and disillusioned, I quit and moved into a completely different sector, manufacturing. One of those difficult clients I supported had a consultant who noticed my grit and persistence. For 2 years, he regularly checked in to recruit me, and eventually I said yes. Fast forward 10 years, I had climbed higher, but felt more broken than ever. By then, I was the vice president of that same consultant firm, interfacing with C-level nonprofit executives and leading meaningful change. I was on the senior leadership team of a growing company, sitting on multiple boards, managing a side business for my passion, hosting dinner parties, planning grand adventures with my husband and daughters. I even planned a family vacation to Cabo for my dad's retirement party. I was doing it all, and I was miserable. I thrived on external validation. Quote, "We couldn't survive without you. Thank you for saving the day." I told myself these affirmations meant I was helping others, that I mattered, that I was enough. Everyone around me was happy with me, but I still wasn't happy. So I asked myself the wrong question. What's wrong with me? The answer revealed itself when my CEO, that same consultant from all those years ago, called before that family trip to Cabo. It was common for us to discuss what was and wasn't working with our clients and employees, and to banter back and forth with what-if scenarios. This time he asked me, "Karen, if I paid you double to stop having touchy-feely conversations and just stick to the scope of work, would you take it?" For the first time, money didn't factor into my answer. It was a resounding no. Those conversations, the deeply human ones, weren't just part of how I worked. They were who I was. Looking out at the ocean in Cabo, I realized I was stuck because I was choosing to be stuck. I had checked every box I had created for myself. In the words of Alan Watts, "My God, I had arrived. Yet, I was deeply lost and miserable." It took working with my first coach, Amy, to uncover my truth. I was not being, I was doing, constantly. Through that process, I discovered my greatest joy came from empowering others one-on-one. The client battling imposter syndrome but ready to transform their team. The employee eager to pivot into a new and unfamiliar role. Even the young nanny in my home dreaming of becoming the first in her family to attend college. These moments of connection lit me up. They reminded me of my true purpose, to empower others to step into their fullest potential. Finding that clarity required help, courage, and vulnerability. help from a professional coach to uncover my deepest desires, courage to sit with my misery and let go of dreams that felt more like obligations, vulnerability to embrace what I loved, even when it felt silly. When I finally told the world what I wanted, the world responded. 4 months after leaving the corporate life, a lifelong dream landed in my lap. I became the interim CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Colorado. I fulfilled my dream of running a nonprofit while simultaneously building my coaching career, a space where I empower others to align their lives with their truest values. Burning the corporate ladder was not easy, but it was the most liberating, authentic decision of my life. Sincerely, Karen. We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Own Your 5 to 9, an organization committed to freeing families of the rat race and burnout. Every organization has a leader, mission, and a set of values that drives the organization. But this is commonly missed in the most important organization in the world, the family. An organization has one mission for how it will impact the world. Why not the family? An organization goes into strategic planning routinely to align its values, mission, and projects. Why not the family? Whose Home, a strategic planning guide for families, is a workbook and a tool needed in all households. Whose Home takes a strategic planning approach with 10 guided exercises to define your core family values, family mission, and tools to operationalize how your family does life together. If your family is facing a big decision, Whose Home is for you. If you're considering a career pivot, Whose Home is also for you. If you desire more intentionality and harmony in your home, Whose Home is for you. Create a healthy culture, not a hustle culture, at home. Visit ownyour5to9.com to claim your copy today. Karen's story is familiar to all of us, so the applications will also be familiar to those of you that follow this show. Let's look at 3 applications. Number 1, no amount of money, titles, or achievement on the corporate ladder was fulfilling to Karen. Instead of staying there in misery, she searched for answers through professional coaching, mentors, and friends. Number 2, Karen learned that having the constant posture of doing was preventing her from recognizing the beauty of being. This lesson goes for all of us. When we recognize our identity of who we are at the core, it gives clarity to our actions moving forward. When we have that type of clarity in our daily lives, every room becomes an opportunity to be impactful by being authentic. And number 3, Karen's road on the corporate ladder was not a mistake by any means. She looked back and saw that her need for connection and empowering human souls was part of her DNA throughout her journey. When she realized her purpose that gave her fulfillment, then she could walk into any room, whether it's a corporate boardroom or one-on-one coaching or even a playroom. She knew exactly what she was supposed to do. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you have a burning ladder story, I would love to hear it. You can submit your transformation story at ownyour5to9.com. Thank you for listening to the Work Life Eubiosis podcast, part of the Work Life resources created by Own Your 5 to 9. I hope that you have found encouragement and a few ideas to strengthen your journey to purpose, freedom, and balance. Have you overcome burnout and found a new way of life? Millions around the globe are still at the risk of burnout and losing it all. And your story may be the one that sparks not only a dream, but action. Visit ownyour5to9.com for more information and submit your story. While you're there, join the Work Life Eubios' newsletter and receive additional resources weekly right to your inbox. If you enjoy this podcast, take time to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Share it with a friend or loved one. Remember, the most important organization in the world is the family. Let's do our part to strengthen it. Thank you for listening.